As Frenchie from Greece said, the only man you can trust is your daddy. Hi everyone, my name is Katie and you're listening to KT, where I get my heart broken. Since Valentine's Day is approaching, I thought I would tell you guys about my best friend, or, well, former best friend, who, well, I'll just tell you the story. Before I begin, if you know me personally, let's pretend you don't. It's better for both of us. Also, before we begin, this is completely unscripted. Also, I'm going to keep names anonymous. Everything's a little fresh. It's not the greatest feeling, but you guys deserve it. In relationships, we need vulnerability, and as producer of this podcast and listener of this podcast, we have some kind of relationship. At least I like to think we do. I'm gonna take you guys for the ride, where I tell you about my best friend who broke my heart. Let's take a few steps back into sophomore year, where it began. We were in marching band together. I marched alto sax, and he marched mellophone. It was his first year of marching band and my third. I started in middle school. But I thought he was a freshman because he was always hanging around my friend who also marched mellophone. I would always say to my friend, in earshot, he must be a freshman because he just hangs around you. No, he just didn't know anyone. He later told me that he didn't like me at all. But as we started to hang out more in marching band, we became friends. We would sit on the band bus together every competition. We could talk about anything. I would sing in front of him, and I don't sing in front of anyone, really. Like, it takes a lot of courage for me to sing in front of people. He and I were good friends. We were best friends, actually. We get to junior year, and we are best friends. We have established this. So it's just before junior year now, in the summer, and before band camp, we have 2 weeks of parade band, and then we perform. The night before the parade, the two of us are texting. We're having deep conversation. We're saying very vulnerable things. That's the word of the day, by the way. Vulnerable. Vulnerability. Because it's something that I really struggle with. So for me to put myself out there for you guys to listen is really a big deal for me. So if you do enjoy this episode or my podcast in general, feel free to interact. I love sharing my work, and this is only part of my work. I'm a film major, if you guys didn't know. That is because I love to create. Digital production is one of my favorite things to just get my voice out into the world, and I just really appreciate you guys that do listen. Let me continue with this story. He and I were having a very deep conversation. We started saying, I love you, and we're best friends. There's no one in the world in this moment that I would rather be talking to. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and we had to be at the school at like 7 or 8. So we were up very late, and we were very sleep deprived the next day. And I told him this over text. I said, we're going to be so tired the next morning. And he says, it's worth it. It was monumental for me. We keep talking through the beginning of junior year. At this point, it's a will they or won't they. He convinced me to also march mellophone, to learn a brand new instrument so I could march next to him. And my other friend who marched mellophone was still in the section. So, of course I did it. 2 friends in one section. I left the saxophones, all about 16 or 18 of them, and went to a section of 4. I did that not only for him, but also for myself. And I wanted to learn new instruments anyway, so I thought, well, what better way to start than by having him teach me. Anyways, so during junior year, or at least the beginning of it, we're talking. And when I say talking, it's not a normal conversation at all. But if you know me, no conversation is a normal one. I just think talking stage is such a juvenile way of putting anything. We are getting personal with each other. We are having deep conversations. We have expressed interest in dating. The two of us said a lot of things. These are things that people who are not dating typically would not say. Things like, I love you. Yes, friends can say I love you, but in the context of which many things were said, it was a greater deal than just a platonic I love you. In September, he didn't really talk to me as much. He became busier when it came to texting me. He texted me frequently. For him to start getting busier when there was no band practice, it made me wonder what was going on. I find out at the end of September that he has a girlfriend, and it's not me. It's a flute player in the marching band. That made me so upset. I wasn't angry, but I presented myself as being angry. I wanted to act strong. I felt like being upset would be more vulnerable. I was just watching Dr. Phil yesterday, and Dr. Phil says that when you're angry towards anyone, you are actually showing the biggest signs of weakness. I thought, what did she have that I didn't? What did he find in her that he enjoyed so much more than the conversations we had? I couldn't imagine, because we talked every night, every day, in band class, on the field next to each other, side by side. What did she have that I didn't have? What did she possess? Because I just didn't understand it. And that's what made me even more upset. So it's late September, early October, my junior year. We are in full-blown band season, okay? This is when all of the competitions and invitationals are happening. So every weekend we are going somewhere, and we're taking the bus. He promised me in the summer that we would ride the bus together. We would sit next to each other on the bus, and he made this promise. And he said he never broke promises, but he did break that promise. He sat with his girlfriend. Later that night, I texted him with the screenshot of his words. Then he says, I know I broke the promise, and changes the subject. All of my friends are angry. They had to endure because they were also in band, and they were also next to me on the field a lot. My friends were not happy by his actions at all, and I'm so happy they were there for me in that time, and they still are. If you guys are listening, I love you guys. I was losing my best friend at the same time. I hate saying girl best friend and boy best friend, because I think best friend is any gender. I don't get mad when people say it, but I don't like using it for any of my friends. So that being said, I'm going to use this word, I guess, very loosely, but he was a boy, and I am not a boy. So she saw competition in me, I'm sure. I think that's the reason. But she would not let him text me. She made him block me on social media in December of junior year. That made me angry, because I thought he was the one who blocked me. And, well, his account did block me. I couldn't text him. I don't think I'm crazy for what I'm about to say, but he's a French horn player. I wanted to learn more instruments, so I started playing French horn in concert band and sat right next to him. Because you're not going to stop me from having friends. Once he got into that relationship with her, I flipped my switch. I could not be interested in him anymore. It was like a light. Of course, I still felt very deeply about him, but I pushed it down because I'm no homewrecker. I will not be trying to go after her man. That being said, I'm sure she was jealous of our friendship. I'm sure she felt threatened. And after about a month, he unblocked me and then blocked me again after maybe a week and told one of my friends at the time that my girlfriend didn't like me having Katie unblocked. So I know it was her. In hindsight, now I know how controlling that is. Well, I knew that it was controlling when I found out that she's the reason that I was blocked. But in hindsight, he didn't realize how bad that was. He told me later on that he was angry with it, upset with it, but he didn't know what to do. And, I can't blame him for that, because when you're in a situation like that, when you're in a relationship like that, and I do know what I'm talking about, you don't really know what to do. You're stuck. You're just trapped. There's no way you can think about this from a third person's perspective. Because I know I couldn't when I was in something different but similar all at the same time. Not something I want to get into today or maybe ever, but he really wanted to stay friends with me. We both sat next to each other in concert band and we laughed, we joked around. And his girlfriend, who sat in the front row, would turn around and start staring at us. We were in the second or third row, depending on just how the band room was arranged that day. So it looked like she would glare at me or stare at him, either or. And I'm sure that was her trying to say, hey, don't mess with my boyfriend. And in response, I would either stare back or whisper to her ex-boyfriend, who also marched Bellaphone, keeping it in the section. Gotta give it to her. I would whisper to him, hey, she's staring again. And he says, yeah, I can tell. And sometimes I would stare back, and sometimes I would just ignore her, because if you ignore somebody, their whole intentions are ruined. Anyway, senior year came around. They'd been together for almost a year. We both tried out for drum major. He made it, I didn't. So I had to look up at him at the podium. He would hang around my section a lot. I was section leader that year. It was fun. I don't regret being section leader at all. I really enjoyed the company I was in. He had me unblocked for a lot of senior year. We were in band class together. It was called advisory, but it was like homeroom, basically. We were in that together. We were in pre-calc and trig together. I was the peer tutor for the class period, and he was just taking it, and we got to sit next to each other. We saw each other, I'm sure, more than his girlfriend would have liked. We graduate. I get blocked again right after graduation. And on August 1st, I get a text from his phone number saying, hey, is this Katie? And I said, yeah, why? And didn't get a response from his phone number, but he sent me a message on Instagram saying, hey, my girlfriend, or now ex, I should say, broke up with me, so I'm starting fresh for college. How have you been doing? How was your summer? And so we started talking again. He just got broken up with by her. They were together for almost 2 years at this point. So we were talking. We're having fun. He says, I'm so glad I have my best friend back. He seems to be doing well, hits the gym, goes on runs. So then we talk every day. When he's on break at work, when he's on his way to class, he'll call me. He'll complain about his ex not giving back his stuff that he wants back. He did talk about her to me a lot. He said that his mom asks about me and said he'd like me to meet her. And the sweetest thing, he really loves his mom. And I wish I had a mom that cared about me as much as she cares about him. And he said he would come visit me in college because I live 3 hours away and he's still in my hometown. And it was in September when I tell him, I like you. I have a crush on you. We talk about that. He says, I'm not oblivious and I'm not stupid. Well, I'm not oblivious and you know that. You're not stupid. The feeling is mutual. He and I would talk about dating, and he did say he wanted to wait because he didn't want me to be a rebound. Like, he was his ex-girlfriend's rebound. She had just gotten out of a relationship and then started dating him. And I said, okay, but I am an impatient person, so of course I would just tell him, you know, I'm so excited for what the future holds, whatever it may hold. And we talked on the phone many nights. I would go outside of my dorm building so I wouldn't disturb my roommate. I'm sure she didn't want to hear everything we had to say. I would go outside. I would sit at a bench, look at the stars, look at the moon, and just talk to him. And we would laugh, and we would spend hours on the phone together. I think every time I talked to him, it was at least an hour and a half. One night, we were on the phone for 3 hours. And I gotta say, that was one of the best 3 hours of my life. We went on Reddit and were reading stories back and forth to each other, and we were just laughing. We have a good time. I would tell him about all the crazy stuff that would happen in college and how my day was, and he would tell me how his shift was at work, and he would stay up late just to talk to me. I can only speak kindly of him. He's really a special person. So when I say he broke my heart again, it really hurt me, and it still hurts. It was also in September that he said he didn't want a relationship with anyone. I said okay, and we're friends. We still talked on the phone. I was very upset. I wanted a relationship with him very much. We said I love you to each other. We talked on the phone for hours, and we continued to do this after he says he doesn't want a relationship. Then what really broke me was when he posted on his close friend's story that he was going to be inactive from Instagram for a while. And here's his phone number. Anyone wanted to keep in touch, so I asked him if he's okay on both his phone number and his Instagram. And I get left unread. It made me frustrated. I just wanted to talk to him. I wanted to be friends with him. We talked every day. So going cold turkey from my best friend was really upsetting. And my college friends had to deal with this. I'm going to say thank you both. Thank you both for being there for me the whole time I was talking to him. So I'm getting over him the next few months. I'm putting academics first. I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm planning to see my friends at home. I'm having a good time in college. I get home for Thanksgiving and I text him saying, I'd like to see you sometime this week while I'm home. So I guess just let me know when you want to hang out. And I never got a response. It was a few days before Christmas. I texted him that I've been trying to get a hold of you. It's not fair to me that you don't want to be friends because that's all I want from you. I miss talking to you, and for everything I've done wrong, I'm sorry. Whatever I did that's keeping you from wanting to talk to me, I'm sorry about. I thought we were best friends and I'd possibly like to go back to that. No response. I find out on New Year's Day that he got back with his ex-girlfriend. That's the reason that I'm blocked and he won't respond to me. Wow. Starting off the year where things can't get worse. He said he would never get back with an ex at all. So for him to do this was just completely out of character. So I don't know what she could have said or done for him to go back. And I may never know. They may get married and I'm just blocked for the rest of my life. The things that he said about her while the two of us were talking, it was something else. It really was. And I won't go into detail about everything, but here's one thing I would like to say. She was so mean to his mom, and she was just so disrespectful to his mom. He told me all his mom did was be nice to her, and she couldn't be nice back. It hurt me to hear that. It did, because I don't have a mom, and if I did, I wouldn't let anyone around my hypothetical mom that would treat her badly, because this mom gave me life and support. I just think that's wrong. I would never date somebody that disrespected my dad. Never. Because I just don't think that's right. My dad has been there for me. He's saved my life. He wants me to meet his mom and that my mom would like me because I'm not disrespectful, because I'm a good person. And that made me feel good, because personally, anyone that I'm with, I would like their parents to like me. Whoever I'm dating, I want their parents to not be disappointed that their child is dating me. So for his mom to ask about me, how am I doing, that makes me grin from ear to ear, and let me tell you, that's exactly what I'm doing. In conclusion, we're not together. He's with his ex now, once again, girlfriend, and I'm blocked on everything. What we had was nice while it lasted. Even after he said, maybe we shouldn't get in a relationship yet, or all of that, I still thought in the back of my mind, maybe his mind will change. Whatever his girlfriend did to get back in a relationship with him must have been pretty special. Maybe I'm just not what he wants. I'm learning to live with that. You can't be everything for everybody, or else you're nothing for nobody. And that's something my media psychology professor told me. I really resonate with that. If you try to please everybody, you're not pleasing anybody. Anyways, this was sort of hard to talk about, especially unscripted. I thought an open, unscripted dialogue was the best way to go about this. If I had scripted it, it would have taken just so much out of me. I would go through this pain. It's really funny to me. He said he chose a good time over what would have been a much better time, clearly. He was talking about how he got with his girlfriend. That really rocked me to my core. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of KT. If you're interested in getting updates and behind the scenes content, go ahead and follow KT Podcast on Instagram. That's KAETEA Podcast. I also take episode suggestions. You can leave them in my DMs, or feel free to comment on any of my posts. And with that, I'm Katie, and this is KT. Thanks for listening, and I hope you tune in to the next one.